States, I'm Barbara Cusack.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Live from Melbourne, Australia, and all around the world, wherever you may be, I am your host, Nikki Colombo, and welcome to the Nikki Colombo Show. And tonight we are talking about the sacred crystal heart. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there have actually gone and felt the shift in the past couple of weeks. We've all been feeling it. It's been coming out in different ways. The Schumann resonance, and the solar flares, and now, of course, we're getting the earthquakes. But on a planetary grid level, if you're a Starseed, Indigo, light worker, you are going to love this information coming up tonight. And you can find this on energetic synthesis. So here we go. The sacred crystal heart, actually, just before we start, the sacred crystal heart actually is the 8th chakra, which is actually opening like a lotus, a blue lotus. And for those who have cleaned their energies and know how to shield themselves, you guys will really resonate with this. So here we go. The forces of love are one with the eternal God spirit that resides within our sacred crystal heart, and are without exception the strongest healing and harmonizing forces available on this planet. So when we open our crystal heart, we begin to work with spiritual powers, which are sentient living forces in themselves, such as compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and generosity towards others. The crystal heart acts as an energetic gateway of our higher spiritual bodies and opens all of the higher frequency centers that exist within the head and the crown and beyond into the morphogenetic layers where the blueprints reside. Those of us awakening our sacred crystal heart on the earth are birthing new configuration grids for crystalline lotus heart flowers on the inner vertical channels and within the planetary grid system. During this time more than ever, it's critical to preserve our sacred hearts. There's a really good book out by John Barlow Melchizedek called The Sacred Living in the Heart, and it's a wonderful book, so I might talk about that a little bit towards the end of the show. So knowledge is power when it is applied appropriately in the practical application of personal development, and when it is used to cultivate positive change and inner spiritual transformation for that individual. When acquired knowledge is applied in the context of gaining direct experiential knowledge, so that the wisdom of cellular knowing may emerge. Now, I talk about this a lot, guys. People ask me, can you tell the difference about this intuition and this inner knowing that we have compared to mind control energies that come into our field, and learning how to differentiate between that. It's like a communication with your cells. It's not coming in the third eye as a vision. It's not coming in the 5 senses. It's coming from everywhere. So that's what cellular knowing is really all about. And so knowledge then becomes representative of consciousness freedom. And nevertheless, the continual thirst to acquire knowledge can also become a perpetual mental body distraction through which we block our ability to be fully present in our experience of living and relating with others. Over-reliance on the intellect and continually looking for answers in the external world while ignoring the whispers within our own sacred crystal heart distracts us from finding our innate wisdom and our inner truth. Now, I've done that I've done that. I've gone through that stage 2 before, guys, where I was too much in the head, because all I wanted to do is read books and discover everything all at once. And it's like biting an elephant all in one bite. You just can't do it. It has to be little steps, little steps to little steps. And that's the number I've been seeing a lot lately too, is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, which means little steps. And also I've been seeing 11 11 and 4 4 4 in the last couple of weeks. And I know a lot of other people have been seeing these numbers as well. And if you know anything about numerology, you know that 111 is the awakening code and the start of something, and 111 also equals 4, and that's the building number. You can go into numerology and have a look that up. But it's amazing how you've been seeing those that 1111 equals 4, and then seeing 444. So those energies have been coming down, and people have been actually picking up on that, and that's like a communication, projected communication on the other side. So during this time, it is of critical importance to explore and understand the workings of our sacred crystal heart, our pure heart, which holds the feelings and language that communicates directly with the God source and gives us the gift of experiencing unconditional love and peace. When we recognize an energy signature around us, and we can deeply feel and sense something with greater awareness, this is the sacred heart resonance at work. Sensing and feeling energies at higher are the higher functions of the heart complex. Now, when we talk about the heart complex, it's not just the heart chakra, it's not just the heart. It's the 8th chakra, which is just above the heart, right in the very center, which is actually the divine. That's the center point of all union, which is right. It's just like the thorax. I think it's just a couple of inches just above the heart. So it's a complex that works all together. And sensing and feeling energies and higher functions of the heart complex, and the way that the heart as an organ of perception should be functioning within all people. Thus, the most important organ system and spiritual light body component for every person on the earth is their sacred crystal heart complex. Excuse me, which functions to receive and transmit the omnidirectional forces of love. Omnidirectional means coming from everywhere, and through which the inner wisdom of cellular knowing arises. All of us have an inner compass that is our spiritual guidance system that is based on the forces of love flowing from within our heart complex. And our sacred crystal heart will lead us safely, and it will make the best choice for us at any given time if we can quiet the mind and indeed listen to it. See, it's amazing how subtle energies can be so powerful. There's the paradox there. This crisis humanity is facing is a crisis of consciousness that is generated from a lack of love and from closed down hearts. Now, I know what that's like, guys. Closed down hearts, yeah, I've been through that, where you go through a few heartbreaks and you just close it down because you just don't want to go through that pain again. And it's all, they're all challenges and learning. But now I'm starting to open up a lot more, because I have the energy to open up a lot more, because I feel like I've plugged a lot from the AI in the last few weeks. I have really gone inside and dealt with some layers that were actually hidden from me. It's amazing how certain layers of healing need to come up, where you think, okay, yeah, I've got it all sorted now, and then something comes up and it's hidden and you go, whoa, okay, I need to look at that and heal that. Okay, so through the opening of the sacred crystal heart, we also gain increased knowledge of health through sustaining energetic balance, which serves as the healing force we transmit to become the true agents of spiritual healing in this world. So the forces of love are one with the eternal God Spirit that resides within our sacred crystal heart, and are without exception the strongest healing and harmonizing forces available on this planet. And mind you, these healing energies have not been on this planet since the 26,000 cycle that we're coming to an end to. All the stargates have opened. You can come in, you can go out. Before, the frequency fence was around there and you could only get in and you couldn't get out, and now that's all changed. So that's why we're talking about planetary grids today. And if you're a grid worker, you act as an acupressure point for humanity and the planet, because your sacred crystal heart complex echoes and ripples out to where you are, and that affects the energies of the earth. So you can imagine all the starseeds and light workers, indigos, and everyone that is awakened, and you apply this knowledge to where you are, it creates a grid around the earth. So, okay, the crystal heart complex is activated from within the light body, which is further designed to attract and embody the highest qualities of spiritual intelligence. And that's your Merkaba. The earth body functions as the sacred crystal heart complex for the entire solar system. And thus, it is more important now than ever for humanity to consciously work to open their hearts in order to elevate the entire planet, which even raises the consciousness in the worlds that exist beyond. And during the ascension cycle, as humanity raises and expands collective race consciousness, the impacts ripple out to influence the neighboring worlds and other species. To open the crystal heart means to devote oneself to learn how to love, loving ourselves, loving others, loving the earth, and loving her creatures. The soul groups that incarnate on the earth receive the planetary DNA imprint that holds unique heart configurations in their individual light body that are based upon the diamond sun template and contains the cosmic Christos heart principle. The physical DNA, which has been modified through alien hybridization in the lower dimensions through direct physical and genetic manipulation, can be corrected. So that's actually talking about implants there, and we all have implants everywhere. We have them in our chakras, we have them everywhere. So it's about cleaning out your energies, cleaning out all the trauma, heal, forgive, and all that, etc., etc. The heart complex can connect with the higher spiritual intelligence and override these distortions by spiritualizing the emotional body into a soul. Now, that's what I feel like. I feel when people come to me and they say, oh, I'm fearful of this, I'm fearful of chemtrails, I'm fearful of this, blah, 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 blah. I feel as though I've already overridden each negative wave that kind of hits me. So that's what happens. Your frequency raises and it just can't plug into those lower frequencies. So that's what we're trying to do here. So this is true for all reptilian and mammalian DNA, even when they represent diametrically opposing principles. This potential remains dormant until the individual makes a choice to evolve towards being more awake and more loving, seeking a meaningful relationship with all that is. The cosmic Christos heart principle is gender-based and generates the inner and outer heart flame twinning, a male and female heart complex that unites in order to merge into oneness. This can be that's called the inner spiritual marriage, the sacred marriage, where you integrate your masculine principle and your feminine principle into one. So this can be achieved through the biological spiritual ascension process on the earth, which naturally evolves into inner heart flame twinning between the gender principles circulating and generating forces of omnidirectional love through hierogamic union. Hierogamic union is just what I talked about, the sacred marriage. During spiritual initiations that are occurring more rapidly during the shift, the most critical aspect of awakening is to learn how to open the crystal heart and to get comfortable with a widening range of emotional spectrums by resolving emotional conflicts. When we open our crystal heart, we begin to work with spiritual powers that are sentient living forces in themselves, such as the heart-based qualities of feeling and expressing compassion, empathy, forgiveness, and generosity towards others. So this is about the heart-brain complex. This is really interesting because Trunvalo talks about the heart. There is a brain that is actually in our heart, that doctors won't touch that sacred space. If they do, they actually kill the patient. So that's our sacred little spot that connects us straight to the creator source. So the crystal heart acts as an energetic gateway of our higher spiritual bodies and opens up all of our higher frequency centers that exist within the heart and crown and beyond, into the morphogenetic layers where the blueprints reside. When we begin to activate our crystal heart complex, we start to recognize intelligence characteristic of the heart brain, which functions as a thinking, feeling aspect of our consciousness, which begins to develop direct cellular knowing during our experiences. The developed heart-brain complex cultivates a range of higher senses which allow for reading energy signatures. That's a big one, guys. Reading energy signatures basically is tapping into the intent of that being, and that comes from cellular knowing, and decoding intelligent information in the field by feeling it within the heart. The heart-brain complex is an intelligent structure that can best be defined as the original organic design and function of the collective human soul and monad matrix. The monad is right at the top. I think it's high. It's above your higher self and above your soul matrix as well. And it's a cellular memory, which is another body on it, another intelligence that is connected to you. And if you think of it like an onion, you have those intelligences that are connected to you on those other layers. And its cellular memory interface with the planetary heart grid consciousness network. The entire planetary grid contains sentience and cellular memory, which is a crystalline coded information that can be interpreted and felt in the awakened crystal heart. When we talk about crystal, it means a silicon. So this heart-brain complex is part of the planetary body's nervous system, and its nerve cells directly message into and through the individual human body senses. The heart-brain complex is directed through the energetic receivers and transmitters through sensory and feeling levels of a higher frequency consciousness. So in effect, the heart-brain function is a synthesis between sensory feeling and non-verbal intelligence, or cellular telepathy. Now, that's probably a better way of describing it, actually, when you think about it. It's cellular telepathy. Okay, where are we going? Cellular telepathy. I've lost myself because I was looking at the chat room. But anyway, okay, where are we? Okay. The heart-brain complex is directed through energetic receivers and transmitted through sensory and feeling levels of higher frequency consciousness. In effect, the heart-brain functions is the synthesis between the sensory feeling and non-verbal intelligence, or cellular telepathy, which also directs the observer consciousness within the spiritual energetic bodies. So this specific consciousness gateway is a feminine energetic principle. And if anyone knows anything about energetic female principles, and if you have a connection with Sekhmet, which is the female, protective, loving energy, you'll understand what we are talking about here. But its functions in the crystal heart network had been closed, damaged, and blocked in the planetary body, therefore closing down the heart in the collective race consciousness during this last dark cycle. See, the original astral heart complex of the Earth is the fourth dimensional green wave spectrum of light and connects directly into the higher brain of the planet, the planetary logos, which is the ultraviolet spectrum of light. Isn't that interesting? Did you know that cats can see in ultraviolet light and in the RD, the red spectrum of light as well? So these areas of the earth brain were specifically targeted for implanting alien machinery to install a false Christ consciousness network to block these specific crystal heart functions in the majority of humanity. In order to rebuild the crystal heart diamond network, the ley lines, dimensional bodies, and their related structures have to be shifted to make way for the new heart-brain structure and to run the spark of the 144 harmonics throughout the energetic currents in order to activate the diamond grids. This is what is transpiring now, a demolition of blockages and artificial grid structures that hold distortions in the personality layers, clearing out damage and waste products generated by miasma. Miasma is a distortion that has blocked the 45-degree angle position of the diamond grids. The debris and contents are being broken down into smaller consciousness units that are re-assimilated or transmuted out from these damaged grid areas on the earth. The result is collapsing false timelines and dissolving chakra membranes, which greatly deteriorate the functioning of the 3D personality matrix. So you can see there, the shift is being described there. And I've had a lot of clients just in the last couple of weeks that have felt this shift, and a lot of things have cleaned out, making way for new light to come in. So thus, the female principle in the crystal heart's thinking aspect holds much more spiritual intelligence and expanded awareness than in the lower astral plane and the three-dimensional levels that make up the ego's personality matrix. Now, I had a dream. I think it was about a year ago where I actually saw this great big, I was looking at my inner body, my hara line, and I was looking down. So I must have been looking up. I must have been looking from my consciousness, say the pineal gland. But anyway, it was a dream. Anyway, and I saw this great big demolition ball rolling down these levels in my body and just crashing through 3, 2, and 1. These chakras that are correlating to the dimensions. And I felt as though I had unplugged from the 3D personality and have shifted up into the heart chakra, but now, which is the 6th chakra. And now you've got the 7th and the crown and everything, but now you've got the heart, the 8th chakra, which is the crystal heart, right in the center of all union. So our strong instinctual desires and thoughts around needs and wants originate on the lower astral plane and are filled with fantasies and illusions. These thought substances develop into fixed patterns of belief systems that become locked down into the mental body, which influence our personality and habits that create our version of reality. So each individual's thoughts and images that are formed by the ego mind. We have an ego mind in our head and we have an ego mind in our solar plexus, guys. So if you know techniques about cording and how to cut the cords, I suggest you get into that too, because we do have cording in our chakras, which creates delusions and distortions, and that needs to be cut off and cleared out and then shielded up. So each individual thoughts and images that are formed by the ego mind have mirrored reflections into the entire multidimensional collective consciousness layers that comprise the entire structure of human and planetary anatomy. There are mirrored reflections made between the mental body thought forms that imprint themselves as patterns into the physical body and the spiritual body. And these mental distortions block the higher dimensional aspects of the spiritual consciousness that would progressively embody in the natural cycle of biological ascension. Now, ascension depends on how you look at it. You're raising your consciousness up into these certain levels and out. It can also be called ascension because you're actually bringing those higher levels and divinity down into the body. Okay? So it depends on how you look at it. It's another paradox, but you can look at it both ways. So personality matrix blocks the crystal heart. As a planetary As a result of the planetary distortions caused by the abuse of technological mind control targeting the personality matrix of humanity, these accumulated mental distortions and destructive behaviors impact the human genetic imprint, which blocks the natural alignment of soul and spiritual integration into the physical body of many people on Earth. In the original human DNA imprint, from birth to age 12, the child would undergo the process of accreting and absorbing the entire frequency spectrum within the 3D timelines, which would simultaneously activate and assemble their 1D, 2D, and 3D DNA strands. Upon reaching the biological age of 12, the child would enter the soul integration process, in which the heart would open and they would begin to accrete and absorb the 4D, 5D, and 6D timelines. Timelines and dimensions mean the same thing. And related DNA strands for full soul embodiment. Because of the blockage in the human genetic imprint impacting the soul integration process, many people are seated in the lower layers of the personality matrix without any heart opening. Now that sounds like some of those politicians that we see up the top there making those stupid decisions about our planet Earth. The heart blockage stunts the emotional body, creating a tendency to digress the mind back into the spiritual development level of a 12-year-old child, especially when fear-based thinking and high stress is being applied to groom the personality. So that's why some people who are they look older, they're actually emotionally undeveloped because they are blocked from trauma-based incidences that have happened in their life, and that needs to clear that. So look, we're coming to the break. I'm your host, Nikki Colombo, and we will see you on the other side of tfrlive.com on Truth Frequency Radio, and we will finish the other side of this wonderful look.
We are TFR.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio.
And we are back from the break, and I just want to give a shout out to my beautiful mother today. Happy birthday, Mum, who is 80 years of age. Oh my God, you actually made it. Mum lives in Fiji. There is a lot of Indian culture over there, so when I spent some time over there, I learned a lot about spirituality and the Indian culture over there. It was absolutely amazing. So happy birthday, Mum. I hope you liked the video that I produced for you. It's on my Facebook wall, so you can check it out there. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this is what's happening. As the planetary ascension event is at the beginning of the first major expansion cycle that represents the shift into the next harmonic universe. At the microcosmic level, this represents the soul integration process being pushed forward upon each individual on Earth. The incoming frequencies transmitting on the planet globally are impacting the entire grid network and have a fundamental base frequency at the soul level of consciousness. These incoming frequencies can place immense pressure upon unprepared mental and physical, and can place immense pressure upon the unprepared mental and physical body, generating a type of increased constriction in the mind and body. If a person remains primarily stationed in the intellect of the personality matrix, the soul frequencies and higher that and higher than that are being, the soul frequencies and higher that are being transmitted will greatly increase mental pressure and biological deterioration. Yeah, this is, I heard about this. I heard that certain people have psychotic breaks when these kind of energies come in because they don't know how to deal with these frequencies. And this is what we're all learning. We're learning to navigate frequencies and energies, guys. So this can further increase the energy blockages in the light body, which is the light body is your Merkaba body, and it's also your toroidal field as well, which if uncorrected can lead to manifesting disease or physical death. So the light body is also your aura as well. So you can see we've got many, 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 many layers, and it all comes through there and then filters down into this physical 3D world. So the crystal heart complex acts as a massive pressure release valve. If the individual can truly open their heart and desire to express more love, more kindness, more gratitude, these heart-based love frequencies can co-create miraculous healing recoveries. The mental body programming embedded in the 3 layers of ego, the personality matrix, suffers from being broken down and even crushed by the pressures generated by the incoming soul and plasma frequencies. Okay, the plasma frequencies. Now, a lot of the light chips are made from plasma, and they're actually conscious. This can result in some mental fracturing, which may be observed to be greatly increasing in some of the intellectual and academic environments. Okay, so there you go. All the snarty pantsers out there and the scientists that are going to be having, intellectual moments, that's for sure. So in this condition, the personality matrix and body are subjected to gradually increasing molecular compaction in the human energy field, which slowly disintegrate the lower ego frequencies, as well as the artificial and extremely destructive negative aspects in the personality. In order to adapt, isn't that great news? In order to adapt the planetary shifts, the individual must learn to open their heart center and become willing to explore the deeper meaning of life. Though, through being willing to experience self-love and self-kindness. Yeah, guys, we need to do a bit more self-love and a bit more loving kindness. So the ego must surrender to the development of the higher heart-based qualities that supersede the reliance upon the dogmatic or fixed beliefs around the nature of reality that were formed by the intellect of the personality matrix. This process is called the ego death, or the dark night of the soul. How many of you guys out there have actually gone through that dark night of the soul where everything around you just disintegrates? I've gone through that myself. I know what that feels like, and it can be bloody scary. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gone inside and learned how to cut some cords and do some cording techniques, and how to reprogram the crystalline matrix in my ego personality to actually heal and transmute those energies. The pericardium heart shield. Now, this is really interesting. Okay, the pericardium is a double-walled sac of connective tissue that contains the physical heart organ and the roots of all of the large vessels that bring blood to and from the heart. Pericardial fluid is secreted by the pericardium, which is similar to the functions of the cerebral spinal fluid of the brain and helps to protect the organ, but its spiritual function is to allow the spiritual essence to travel within its channels and open direct communication with the creator source. As the crystal heart center is further developed and nurtured to embody the monadic spirit, the monad, which is the higher self. It opens into a flowering inner stargate through which consciousness body can time travel. The pericardium has an energetic shield that covers the heart complex, which functions spiritually to protect the higher heart from excessively destructive emotional energies, as well as to protect the access levels of the entire soul. Now, see, again, that's where Dranvala comes in when his information says about protecting access levels to the entire soul, where doctors won't touch that special spot because you can instantly kill someone. So there's that. That's where it is, guys. That's the spot. As a result of the ego personality being subjected to mind control, the mental distortions accumulate as negative patterns that form a thick energy blockage around the pericardium. The dark blockage will be penetrated and cracked open when the heart center begins to open. And this stage is the process of soul-body integration, when the soul is reintroducing itself into the heart complex. And this can feel physically painful and emotionally devastating when it happens. Yeah, you know what? How many times do people mispresume that these spiritual awakenings are all unicorns and rainbows? And it's just not. It's just not like that at all. Not in my experience. It's been a complete breakdown of all the bullshit that I've been fed in the past, few years. So, not few years, actually. I'm not going to give away my age, but I know some people out there know how old I am, but it's been quite a lot of years. But so many times this stage of the soul integration process cracks openings of light throughout the dark blockages lodged in the pericardium heart shield. And this event may be spiritually catalyzed during the emotional, painful interactions, such as during the ending of a significant romantic relationship. Oh man, do they hurt, don't they? Some people may experience this stage as feeling as if their physical heart is actually breaking. You know what, guys? So many people die of a broken heart on this earth. And that's a really sad thing, because where your frequency is at that point of identity is where you will go into the next vibration. So, when you're sitting in your hospital bed and you're almost about to go, just laugh your fucking head off. Laugh your bloody head off and say, what a ride. That's what I'm going to do. Some people may experience this stage as feeling as if their heart is actually breaking. The emotional rawness and soreness is entirely tangible. So the pericardium channel links the energetic circulatory system between the physical act of sexual intimacy and emotional experiences that happen during and after sexual activity. And as such, the emotional devastation of heartbreak can be instigated during interactions with sexual partners. If the pericardium channel remains blocked, it removes the sensory experience of heart-based loving feelings that are generated by the open heart, which should naturally occur during sexual intimacy. When engaging in sex without love, this greatly disrupts the emotional bond and heart connection made between lovers, increasing the energetic blockages around the pericardium. Essentially, this constricts the chest, contributes to numbing out emotions and sensory ability in those people that are having sex without heart connection and experiencing love. Thus, pericardial imbalances commonly manifest into destructive relationship patterns that can shut down the heart center and can further escalate into extreme fears of intimacy and even sexual perversion. I think what she means by that is that people have to go further and further into perversion to, get off, which actually siphons all our energy, all the humanity's energy, straight into the UK, which is repicentral. So as we navigate the challenges of earthly life, all humans have experienced great emotional pain at some point in their lives. And the result of this intense suffering felt from excessive negative emotions generates negative vibrations. And these negative vibrations accumulate over time. And when they remain unhealed, this blocks the true soul emotional body from expressing through the heart center. And this interferes with allowing the forces of love and the forces of the creator source to enter our lives. The pericardium has a powerful influence on the quality of mental and emotional states that we actually experience, framing an interpretation of either love or fear that is based upon whether the heart complex is open or closed. Self-love, self-acceptance, self-expression, along with practicing loving kindness in relation to others. Spirituality heals the heart, mind, and body and allows more love and joy to flow through the pericardium channel. To gather our spiritual strength and open our heart and pericardium channels are the most important gateways that support us in finding inner peace and restoration, even when enduring a time of great change and spiritual crisis. Crystal lotus heart flowers. Those of us awakening our sacred crystal heart on the earth are birthing new configuration grids for crystalline lotus heart flowers on the inner vertical channels and within the planetary grid system. So the inner vertical channels are the feminine channels that go vertical, and the masculine channels of the grids of the earth are horizontal. And there has been a lot of blockages with these vertical channels and energetic grids. They have been blocked. And that's the suppression of the divine feminine that's been going on for thousands of years. That is actually breaking down right now. So the crystal lotus heart flowers are replacing the artificial intelligence machinery links into the phantom areas and replacing obsolete functions of the 3D chakra system. They are 0-point energy portals that existed on other dimensional planes that functioned as diamond heart systems and circulated higher spiritual consciousness energy throughout the diagonal grid networks. And these systems are now being brought into this reality. Yay! You know what, guys? I think we've already won. I think I think the negative shit is just playing out, where people have to learn and grow through all that negative stuff, you know. I get this feeling as though as if we've already rebalanced, and we've, not that I'm in, you know, polarity thinking, but it's just more like a rebalancing, which is, we so desperately need that. So previously, these lotus flowers and their grid networks were not available on Earth, and as they were connected to the higher creational planes that run feedback loops with the central point, the crystalline lotus heart flowers are growing on the earth body like an etheric garden of beautiful flowers with light and sound frequencies filled with an orchestra of inspiring fragrances. The plant kingdom and physical flowers on the earth are being influenced by the shifts transpiring as a result of the growing crystalline flower grid network, which can be witnessed at this time in the entire rose species of the earth. The crystalline rose heart architecture has special significance in the Yeshua timeline as a love story creation, returning to the invaded earth with a promise for restoring the Christos Sophia consciousness in this fallen universe, which goes back to the origins of the cosmic Christos races from Andromeda. Now, the Andromedans are known as the angels in the Bible, not the archangels, just the angels. Remember, we live in polarity, and there's always saying, you know, there's two sides to these energies. So the new etheric grid network of the crystal lotus heart flowers is birthed from the sacred crystal rose heart complex of the Aeonic pair. This is also serving to help rejuvenate the human bodily organ systems by aligning them into the corrected proportions that evolve into sequential stages of the diamond sun light body. Diamond sun light body is like full embodiment of your higher self. As the spiritual initiate works to clear his or her mind, body, and sexual organs from the sexual misery programming, and there is a lot of sexual misery programming on this planet, and it's not healthy for us. It's a Repi program, or should I say a Draco program. So the gender reversals, raising lower impulses and instinctual desires into the heart. The reproductive organs function as at the higher energetic level to co-create these new lotus heart flowers. This new planetary architectural configuration is changing how male-female consciousness energy is birthed into co-creation into the matter world. Now, you can see that there, right there. That's, you know, all that bullshit going on about subjugating, you know, transsexuals and all that kind of stuff. You can see David Icke talks about this, about how they're trying to fracture and, you know, subject these titles smaller and smaller and smaller to, you know, disidentify Okay, I've lost again. Bloody hell. As the natural laws are constructed in eternal love as the basis of reproduction for all of life. Okay, here we get to the thymus complex. The thymus complex is located in the higher heart center, located at the top of the breastbone, in which the soul star can be accessed to help activate and embody all three layers of the soul identity. The soul star is a tiny blue-white light spark on the central vertical channel that will open the access between the soul layers and the moadic layers through the higher heart opening. The incoming soul frequencies on the planet are being directed into this particular higher heart center to begin to activate the entire thymus complex to attract the soul layers and then begin the spiritual link with the moadic layers. The thymus complex regulates changes to the metabolism. I've been feeling that, guys. Yep, shifting functions in the endocrine system and begins to purify the blood with crystalline formations within the blood cells. Now, I've actually seen that on people where crystalline is actually coming out of the little tiny crystals are actually coming out of their hands, and you can see it in the sunlight. If you have a look at n5d.com and look up, I've forgotten, there's an article on there and you can actually see it. The thymus complex, the eighth chakra, works directly in alignment with the thalamus complex, the ninth chakra, to activate the permanent seed atom, which activates to form a breathing crystalline lotus or rose heart. This activation in the thymus complex is the first stage of the ascending consciousness moving into the morphogenic fields where the blueprints reside. And as a result of individual becomes more aware of other identities and lifetimes as an eternal being. Okay, so that's when all your past lives come back to you, and you realize, oh my God, I've been a badass in this life, and I've been, an angel in another life, and you realize, oh my God, okay, and that's where the judgment stops, and it kind of brings you into that that heart consciousness. Unity consciousness. Okay. Okay, where are I keep losing. Buddy, the thymus complex governs changes that occur within metabolic functions, and if the heart center opening is being blocked by the mental body, it may manifest into an assortment of physical issues suddenly impacting the metabolic system, thymus gland, and the heart functions. Altar, major, and thymus complex. In the Guardian context, the altar major center is located at the base of the skull where the neck meets the skull. This is considered the thymus complex, the ninth morphogenic chakra that directly corresponds to the medulla oblongata and access into the universal antikythera current. Now, I've actually seen this. It's like a halo around your head and your eyes get light up. As a result of this placement in the head, it is also referred as the mouth of God or the goddess. This energy center in the light body directly regulates many aspects of the brain and glandular function, and the circuitry connects into the hara center, which represents the location where the moadic identity first anchors into the physical body. Your hara center is the center of your body. If you've seen Da Vinci's man, the Vivian man, I think he's called, you'll see the hara line and you'll see the Merkaba. That's the direct center of our body. In order to maintain connection and communication with the higher heart center located in the thymus gland, and to build the crystal lotus breath configuration within the sacred crystal heart, the three main energy centers in the head must be linked together and then sustained. These three energy centers operate as a trinity and connect into three major brain glands. You can see there now we're going from binary into trinary. The hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal. The energetic circuitry links between them exist from the top of the head to the middle of the forehead, or top of the middle hairline, and then to the base of the skull. This trinity circuit communicates with the moadic consciousness layers, bringing the communication vibration down into the body, and then the spiritual blueprint pattern is spoken through the throat center and the voice box. This Trinity pattern circuitry allows consciousness awareness of our deep heart expression to be brought into the earth realm by bringing one's personal spiritual mission or divine purpose into physical actualization. And I know many of you out there who feel like you are part of the ground crew, and that's exactly what we are. The Ultimate Major Center is an extremely sensitive portal of higher consciousness awareness, which alerts us to the signature of negative energies and entities and toxic influences in the environment. So that's something that we really have to work on, don't we? Working out what energies are yours and what are something else, and whether that's melding in, and if it's yours, and that's where shielding techniques come in. That's where mind control comes in. If you don't know your energy, or if it's someone else's energy or another being, entity or whatever, how are you going to tell? So as a sensitive portal of consciousness that links directly into the brain and a higher heart complex, it is highly susceptible to a range of implants, psychic attacks, and misalignment. When the Ultimate Major Center is misaligned, it interferes with brain function, heart-centered communication, and higher sensory perception. Blockages in the Ultimate Neck Center may result in assortment of physical alignments and spiritual blockages, most importantly, repelling full noetic embodiment and preventing the permanent seed activation in the higher heart complex from building out the crystal, lotus, and rose heart configurations. What she's talking about inside there, this is Lisa Renee, she's talking about how we have the crystal seed in our 8th thymus heart chakra complex, which when it comes online, it bursts open and it looks like a lotus flower, and it breathes source consciousness in and out and in and out. So if you've been having trouble breathing and it feels like you're breathing underwater, or like you've got a lung underwater, that's the heart consciousness coming in. It does go away, but it's just something that we have to get used to, and it does go away, guys. So the Ultimate Major Center is connected to the Atlas bone, or C1, which is the very first bone in the neck. Oh, God, no wonder we get so many pains in the necks, guys, hey? So it is a ring-like bone at the junction of where the skull and the neck meet. The Atlas bone supports the weight of the skull, has facets that allow the head to move up and down, and is responsible for the equilibrium management of the spine. The second neck bone is called the axis, or C2, which is just below the Atlas bone, which allows the head to move from side to side. Together, the Atlas and axis bones are referred to as the upper cervical spine. The Atlas and axis are important neurologically because the brainstem extends down to the axis, which controls and coordinates virtually all of our body's vital functions. So this is important. This is an important junction. If this important junction is blocked, implanted, or misaligned, it blocks the thymus complex and the 9th chakra opening, which is the medulla spiritual gateway through which our moadic identity can embody, and our consciousness can gain access into the higher dimensions. Most people on the earth have been subjected to a variety of physical and emotional traumas, which have contributed to the lodging of a variety of implants and suppressor energy parasites to prevent soul and moadic embodiment. And we will pick this up on the other side of the break, guys. Stick around. I'm your host, Nikki COLOMBO.
My name is Ella.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
we are back from the break on TFR Live, the Nikki Colombo Show. I'm your host, Nikki Colombo. And we're just going to pick it up from the break. So most people on Earth have been subjected to a variety of physical and emotional traumas, which have contributed to the lodging of a variety of implants and suppressor energy parasites to prevent soul and moadic embodiment. This is directly related to the axis C1, axis C2 dislocation at the back of the cranium and spine, along with complications caused from unremoved crucifixion implants. In many years of research and successfully removing these implants from my own body, it is believed that the atlas and axis dislocation is part of the weakness created in the body that allows energy parasites to become more easily embedded, blocking the process of the natural spiritual embodiment. Now, that spot there that she's talking about with the spine actually connects to the sphenoid bone. And if you have a look at the sphenoid bone, guys, it looks like a butterfly. And that's where the Monarch MK Ultra and MyLab experiences come from, because that and where the butterfly comes from as well, because it looks like the sphenoid bone looks like a butterfly. So you can see there how they're manipulating. Especially they can actually put implants on our etheric bodies as well, guys. So it's not just down in this 3D world. It's on the other multidimensional layers as well. So this is a general overlay observed as an alien implant that is intentionally dislocated the atlas and the axis. And the source appears to be connected to the hidden history of the Anunnaki genetic manipulation on Earth as a result of the Luciferian rebellion and Michael Wars. In some cases, people may have success with etheric session work, or it may be helpful to undergo structural realignment through the physical treatment of an atlas adjustment. The process of realignment is called the atlas adjustment, and a qualified chiropractor practitioner uses a specific tool that came from Switzerland that is called the prophylax. This tool is like a little hammer that pounds by reverberation on the back of the atlas to center the skull, foramen magnum hole. So the skeletal neck is perfectly balanced on top of the spine. Naturally, there is a lot of controversy around this procedure, so this is something to deeply consider, in that it requires inquiry, research, and personal discernment. Oh yeah, we should apply those principles to bloody everything today, shouldn't we? Inquiry, research, and personal discernment. I'm continually surprised and amazed about how many people skip over information. When I get a piece of information, I chomp into it. I want to know where the source comes from. I want to know if it comes from multiple sources, from different, if they're all saying the same thing from different sources. All that kind of stuff. So anyway, basic human senses. So the senses are a physiological capacity of humans that provide information for conscious perception and physical experience. So as traditionally recognized in the 3D narrative, humans have 5 basic known senses that experience in the physical body, which are sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Additionally, it is agreed that most humans have some degree of sensory abilities to identify temperature, balance, vibration, self-movement, and body position, as well as experience sensations of internal stimulation, such as feelings of hunger or thirst. The capacities of the 5 main senses have a much broader range than what is generally assumed, or that which could be identified through making analysis using the scientific method. These common senses are experienced by the majority of humanity, and those attuned to the personality matrix in the lower frequency dimensions. Within the planetary body instruction set pattern for the 2nd dimension exists the planetary shield, which informs the blueprint for the organs of perception that are manifested within the human physical body. These basic senses are experienced as a result of the 2D layers of the magnetic field, which projects sound waves that are picked up by the human light body's energy receivers. These are processed as an electrical vibration, and it informs the specific sensory organ aspects in the central nervous system. So when we begin the soul integration process, the structures of the soul and the higher spiritual bodies come with higher senses that go beyond the common senses that are based in the personality matrix and lower dimensions. The higher senses are directly connected into the lower senses and will enhance perception that is characteristic of the higher dimensional levels or spiritual layers. As a result of blockages, mainly those shutting down the heart center, this also blocks the energy receivers and the nadial structures from receiving impulses from the higher spiritual bodies. The higher consciousness aspects will compensate for this block in the natural pathways by bringing conscious awareness to the higher dimensional experiences, or directing the person's attention to analyze their dreams or empathetic or intuitive impressions. So this is the higher sensory perception, ESP. So there are many higher senses that are not recognized as normal characteristics of the spiritually awakened human being. And these higher senses may come online when being initiated and accreting higher spiritual frequencies. Accreting means absorbing or coming together. Individuals that demonstrate these higher senses are not especially gifted. They are simply displaying the future potentials of humanity's activated DNA that they have personally developed sooner than others. I know a lot of you really do relate to that. Higher sensory perception and all senses are modulated through the functioning of the DNA structure. And those that have opened their heart center combined with fewer overall distortions in their personal blueprint will have greater ease in activating these dormant abilities. If a person refuses to acknowledge that higher sensory perception abilities exist as a normal attribute of human DNA functioning, or this is adverse to their belief system, then they will shut off these abilities completely. As the planet shifts into the next harmonic, the Earth's population is now being exposed to the 4D, 5D, and 6D incoming soul frequency patterns, which activate a whole new set of potential high sensory abilities. Unfortunately, to combat the possibility of these higher senses coming online, the population has also been exposed to another generation of aggressive, massive mind control strategies implemented by the authoritarian agendas of the controllers, such as forced vaccination agendas and chemtrailing. All of our basic and higher senses are directly interwoven and connected into the structure and anatomy of our light body, and they do not operate independently as they may appear to on the external view. So the primary energy receivers of the sensory abilities are stationed in the complete triad of the layers that form into the horizontal mental bodies which create the foundation for the internal light structure. The energy receivers become blocked at the time became blocked at the time human DNA was unplugged during the Sumerian Egypt invasion, which blocked the receivers from transferring and exchanging energetic impulses and data into the natal structure and central nervous system. Now, Egypt is the fourth heart chakra, and that's what they're trying to do. This agenda is trying to shut down the heart. And that's why Egypt is surrounded by such crap and pollution. So when we intend to direct our personal attention to open our heart and spiritually heal our body, we are able to remove natal blockages and gradually heal our genetic code to help expand its higher sensory functions. So in addition to the basic senses that are natural functions for the human DNA in the lower frequency dimensions, when we move up the frequency scale into the soul, moadic, avatar, and rishic planes, with each dimensional plane access, there are additional higher senses that are interconnected. Some of these higher senses will be experienced in dreamscape or consciousness experiences on the other planes of reality. And some of them are potentially embodied as physical manifestations. As a result of the shift into the soul harmonic universe, the main higher sense that is coming online at this time in cellular telepathy, which allows for inner direct cognition that allows a person to read and sense energy signatures. That is so important. Cellular telepathy and energetic signatures doesn't mean necessarily a person or a being either, guys. It can be a thing, or it could be anything. So we've just got to look at it as energetic. Cellular telepathy is connected to the layers of the soul matrix, and when the soul is fully embodied, this sensory ability is turned on. Because the soul body is intimately connected to the human heart, and it is the true emotional body. If an individual is willing to open and heal their heart, this will attract the soul frequencies and the cellular telepathy skill set as a natural ability. That's amazing. For those accessing the moadic planes or embodying their moadic matrix, transmutation allows shape-shifting and transmigration abilities to come online. Additionally, these allow the projection of one's consciousness for sensing and remote viewing in other dimensions and realities to begin to come online as a natural ability. It should be noted that the disembodied NAA entities, the negative agenda, NAA, entities stationed in the moadic planes also make use of these particular sensibilities, which they have activated through purely mental body means called psionic ability. Psionic abilities are certainly much higher mental body senses than what is available to most Earth humans at this time. However, they are devoid of heart center. So this is why you can see that this AI is valued over the heart complex. For this reason, they contain much more limited abilities than what exists in the higher potentials of activating the original human DNA. And so basically, these people have been colored from the heart, and so they go towards more materialism than spirituality. So when we begin to access the avatar planes or embody the Christos diamond sun matrix, transfiguration allows for the multiple holographic emanations to appear in several locations at once, so that bilocation becomes a natural aptitude. Transfiguration also allows for making the consciousness body extremely small or extremely large in order to gain a perspective view of extremely small or large objects. As an example, making oneself very small to view carbon-based atoms and buckyballs, or making oneself very large to get an overview of an entire planetary body. Now, I've seen those 2 points of attention myself. Especially when I've had dreams where I feel like I'm looking at a 360-degree consciousness, and I feel like my consciousness has been completely taken off planet, and I'm looking at the planet and it's really tiny and small. And then underneath came this great big, oh my God, this ship was so big. It looked like the size of Jupiter. And the Earth looked like a little tiny pinprick. It was amazing. And I know a lot of other people out there have had dreams about spaceships and stuff like that, and seeing from that perspective as well. I mean, there are ships out there that are so big. They're bigger than our planet. Just get your head around that. It's amazing. So this transfiguration ability is at will and is connected to the commitment to the God sovereign free and earn cosmic citizenship that offers complete spiritual freedom to travel in and out of time and into other universes. Extremely ratified at this time on Earth, the Rishic planes allow for the founder flame body consciousness to enter and exit dimensionalization at will. This is the level of the being that exists as the solar flame body, able to create any multitude of forms and enter and then exit at a relatively in and out of time at will. So the preservation of our sacred hearts. This is really important. So during this time more than ever, there is a critical importance in making the daily effort to preserve our sacred hearts and to remain open by feeling, experiencing, and exchanging loving feelings. This means that in all things that we decide for ourselves, in every moment, that we do not ever forget what love and compassion feel like when flowing through our heart. This heart-based quality is a distinctly angelic human quality, and it is our sacred crystal heart that defines what it truly means to be spiritualized and an eternal human being. To become aware so that when we face adversity, that we are not disconnecting any part of our body from the forces of love, from giving, receiving, and exchanging love, compassion, and empathy for life. We must keep our mind and thoughts focused upon those higher qualities of love and appreciation that we experience in our daily lives, and identify that which we can share to circulate more unconditional love and kindness with other people. During this turbulent phase, we must recognize that many of the controlling dark forces are desperate. Oh boy, are they ever. And that any traumatic experience or fear program that they have an opportunity to exploit, they will manipulate those events with the purpose to intentionally corrupt, betray, and break the human heart. That means the means by which they scheme to corrupt the human heart is by attempting to intimidate and force people to unknowingly walk into traps where their personal consent is being manipulated. I talk about this a lot, about giving your power away, about personal consent. It's all trickery. You know, we're tricked into giving our personal consent into doing things that are very unhealthy for us, and that's the ego mind. And when you are conscious of the ego mind and it prompts you, and you get a pulse, instead of acting immediately on that, just take a big deep breath and go, where is that coming from? Is that mine, or is it something else there? To intentionally confuse by deceiving, gaslighting, and manipulating people to play out betrayal and abandonment fears that further trigger victim-victimizer archetypes that can be hijacked by dark spiritual attachments. Now, a lot of people on the planet, I reckon a big, huge amount of the planet are dealing with that at the moment. Some are aware, some are not. So anytime we interact with the third dimensional world and the control of pillars of society, this potential manipulation and attack against our self-ownership exists. Many times the external surface that is being shown to us overtly is to distract from the larger covert agenda that is designed to be a consciousness trap. What many of us are being told on the surface by the mainstream is not real. Oh, God, do we know that? Where underneath are the complex deceptions designed to manipulate the masses into making unconscious agreements, to be in consent with a harmful system that is inverted, dead energy, or feeding into the anti-human agendas. Take that in, guys. During this turbulent phase ongoing, the direct assault against the human heart is becoming more aggressive in order to attempt to annihilate it completely. For all of us that are dedicated and aware to serve our spiritual source, we know that this is a component of our sacred crystal heart undergoing spiritual warfare. Oh boy, are we in spiritual warfare? We realize the heart center is responsible for the deep emotional feeling sensations that allow us to activate higher senses and communicate directly with our spiritual bodies and creator source. Under no circumstances will we allow anything to harm our sacred heart or take away our humanness, which is the love, the kindness, the compassion, and the empathy that we have for each other and for this earth and for the creatures of this earth. You know what, guys? Deep down, we all do have that love there, but that ego mind blocks everything. You know, and it leads to unforgiveness, and it leads to you know, so much energy that is being carried around that really needs to be let go of. Thus, we must do whatever we can do to protect our sacred crystal heart from the onslaught of external dark exposures and unethical people that incite all forms of betrayal, especially spiritual betrayal and heartbreak. How do we neutralize spiritual betrayal agendas from taking control over our psyche? It is to see these agendas clearly playing out in the archetypical dramas and to recognize the fear programming when it is operating within a person, group, or structure. At the same time, we must study ourselves and commit to eradicating all forms of deceptions and being complicit with others' deceptions. Developing personal integrity by being authentic and transparent with others, and asking that mutual agreements be put in place to always be non-judgmental and kind. We can also recognize that negative ego corruption and deception games being reinforced by others. Then we can begin to recognize the real agendas that are hidden in the structure. When we can see the fear program running, then the game cannot automatically manipulate our subconscious because we are identifying it and calling it out. So that's what we do. We identify it and then we get rid of it. Refocus, identify it, and then get rid of it, which is mainly these are like ego-based, false miasm ego programs. And from this perspective, we can see its larger purpose is to incite fear and division. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Refuse to be an agent of chaos and incite fear or division, period. This is one of the most important concepts of psychological warfare and helps us understand why the Guardians put such an emphasis on discerning darkness, discerning consciousness traps, seeing the dark agendas to divide and conquer. Because once you see the tactic and you do not give your power away to it, the dark energy has no power in that situation and it cannot manipulate you. The spirit of betrayal. Now, boy, do I go on about betrayal. And I feel as though I've probably gone through that many times in some previous lives. I really can't stand betrayal. As a Leo, we're all very loyal, so it hurts us deeply. But, I don't take that on anymore. I don't take it personally anymore. I used to when I was younger. I've learned to let it go and go, you know what? It says more about them than it does about me. So the spirit of betrayal, in order to assault the human heart and intend to generate broken hearts and a lack of trust in all human beings on the earth, the negative alien gender have leveraged the spirit of betrayal as one of their most important tools for waging psycho-emotional warfare. Betrayal is the seed fear that is genetically rooted in the feminine principle from the traumatic experience of the Lemurian Holocaust and further into the galactic plane from the Lyran Wars. These tragic events established that particular fear pattern of betrayal in the cellular memory of the planetary energy matrix body and consequently in the collective race memory. These distorted fear patterns were then recorded in the various layers of the energy field's collective unconscious memory, leaving a permanent imprint on the many individual layers of the consciousness that had participated in that original timeline event. And the traumatic records of those Holocaust events from other timelines have been erased from our conscious mind, yet are recorded in the energy matrix and cells of every living thing. See, that's why these guys out there, they try and play out the end of world scenario over and over again. The bullshit that went on in Atlantis, we had those racial memories, and they carve or manipulate that memory into the fear, and that's why this shit just gets played over and over and over and over again. So further, this seed fear was leveraged in order to fabricate the false Christ narrative for the negative alien agenda's violent religions, in which the life cycle of the human being would be subjected to the manipulation of these negative archetypical forces and mind control for programming cellular death. The mind control is designed to repeat the same storylines of betrayal, abandonment, and death for every human being throughout every repeated reincarnation on Earth. These archetypical forces that make up the betrayal storyline are reinforced in the negative alien agenda version of the Christian religions, in which these same betrayal forces influence the subconscious patterns of the individual that is indoctrinated in these false belief systems. The spirit of betrayal is enforced as a seed fear by the crucifixion crucifixion of Christ narrative, which is a torturous human blood sacrifice that instills heartbreak and rejection of the true spiritual principles sacred to human beings. The annual calendar cycle of the religious worship for the Christ's birth, crucifixion, death, and resurrection are all based in the spirit of betrayal that is further kept in place by the spirits of deception. So you've got to understand these guys, these when she talks about spirits of deception, it's not just an energy, it's actually a spirit. So those that betray us are also deceivers, and the damaging effect of betrayal and lies, that is, it destroys our sense of reality and our trust in others, so that innocence is immediately shattered. And we'll get on the other side of the break and I'll finish the rest of the crystal lotus heart, guys. So stick around, stay tuned, and Nikki Colombo show. We'll be back on the other side of the break.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
And we're going to take it up from the break. So when we experience a life-altering event catalyzed by deceptions and betrayal, we experience a broken heart and emotional damage, easily falling into the victim-victimizer role where we can be manipulated even further. Now, I talk about the victim and victimizer role. When you blame somebody else, you're giving your power away to that person. It doesn't let them off the hook. It lets you off the hook when you actually forgive that and let that go. Because if you're always blaming someone else, you're always giving your power away. As soon as you take that back, you become more empowered. So the setup for this repeated cycle of betrayal generates severe emotional damage that shuts down the human heart, in which personal integrity and trust are eroded. And then the moral character, virtues, and the ethics are destroyed. Thus, the spirit of betrayal is a deeply painful fear hidden in the collective consciousness. It is the pain felt when we are being deceived and then betrayed by those you trusted and loved the most. It is a violation of trust and bond. An act of betrayal creates the constellation of negative behaviors, thoughts, and feelings in both its victims and its perpetrators. Spiritual betrayal is one of the most toxic and emotionally damaging fears based on being betrayed by that which had represented the creator, source, spirit, or holiness in the belief systems of that person. In order to destroy the crystal heart center of a human being, the negative alien agenda, the NAA, targets spiritual betrayal and betrayal traumas in order to get the individual to reject the creator source, reject spiritual principles, and reject humanity in order to lure them into the dark agendas and possession. These methods to incite betrayal traumas with the express purpose of breaking human hearts are intentionally used in mass mind control, such as the sexual misery program, and systematically used in all levels of carrying out satanic ritual abuse. So here we go for the last half an hour of the show. Oh, it's 3:33. Wow. In Australia, in Melbourne right now. So healing the heart, this is a good bit. Preserving and healing our heart may be uniquely a different process for each person. However, the main purpose is to give personal meditative attention in better sensing our heart's inner messages in order to restore a flow of loving energy in our lives and achieve overall energetic balance. The human heart is an energy harmonizer and naturally restores balance throughout the bodily systems when we learn how to balance the feeling sensations of the heart with the belief systems of the mind. Sensing our heart means that we are paying attention to our inner feelings, emotions, and needs while sensing the natural rhythms and discovering the deeper dimensions of our multi-dimensional heart. When our heart has been closed, it is usually the result of a previous trauma and pain that we suffered during childhood and carried as a miasmic imprints that were unresolved from other lifetimes. In order to open our heart, we need to be willing to face any buried and unresolved pain. Facing the shadows we carry, that's your shadow work. Facing the shadows which we carry, which may include emotions like sadness, grief, and despair. Okay, so as mentioned, when we begin to crack through the energetic barrier that was surrounding our pericardium and heart, we will feel the emotional depth of our soul wounds and betrayals, the abandonment and the pain. This is the quintessential dark night of the soul. It feels like when you go through the dark night of the soul, you feel like you are being betrayed. You feel like, why isn't Mother Earth supporting me, and all that kind of stuff. You feel awful. But looking back on those dark nights of the souls that I've had, because you get to have more than one, you realize that's where you do a lot of your growth. So however, it is important to remember when you're undergoing this difficult stage of healing of the heart, that you are surfacing all that has been unspoken and unheard to be witnessed. And that out of these powerful feelings and deep-seated grief will come a spiritual strength and renewal that will be worth it all. Practicing compassion for self and forgiveness of others, working on feelings of empathy, are ways of developing heart-based qualities that help us work through powerful and intense emotions. And these are the beginning stages of intending to spiritually heal and open our hearts on the earth. And we can discover self-acceptance and find joy, feel reverence for and take pleasure in the simplest things in life. Like, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you smell freshly cut grass. What a beautiful thing, huh? Here are some factors to support creating a peaceful oasis for ourselves, even when exposed to the forces of chaos during the planetary shift. Address mental noise. Excessive mental chatter, negative self-talk, and playing out archetypes of drama generates imbalances throughout our body and places energy blocks around our heart. In order to regain energetic balance within all of our 4 bodily systems, we must be able to sit quietly and still our mind. This begins with learning about the negative ego and learning how to control impulses and quiet the mind through meditation or breath work. To heal and open our sacred heart, we must clear negative ego, reduce mental noise and outer distractions. Forgiveness. Boy, is this a big one. To clear out the pericardium shield and related energy blockages from around our heart complex, many times we need to forgive ourselves and others. To forgive another person or circumstance is the most generous thing we can do for ourselves. When we forgive others for perceived transgressions, it frees us from the bonds and entanglement cords which manifest painful patterns such as judgments, resentments, and anger. Judgment. Now that's a good one too. Like if you look at your hand right now and you do point your finger like a gun, you'll see the 3 other fingers pointing straight back at you. Isn't that amazing, hey? Now letting go. Oh boy, do we need to let go of those bonds, those bones if you're, hanging on to that dogmatically. So for many people that undergo deeply shocking or hard emotional challenges, such as ending relationships, this can give rise to deep negative emotions like anger, resentment, and bitterness that block us from moving forward in life. The pain of such events can make us suffer from a broken heart, which is both physical and energetic, impacts to closing down our heart. If we could look at life as many lessons in which we are learning to become spiritually whole, the sensation of a broken heart provides the opportunity to explore more of the dimensions of our inner selves. By being present in the moment and surrounding to the now, judgments and future expectations of others are completely dissolved. Let it all go. Discernment. If we act recklessly by making quick and careless decisions based on lower impulses, this interferes with good decision making by impairing our discernment. How many times I've posted stuff on Facebook and everyone goes, fake, 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 it's all fake. And I just think, oh my God, you guys are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. One must grow in spiritual maturity to be able to discern what is in alignment for them personally without judgment and without concern for what others may think of your choices. As you allow yourself to be who you really are as an embodiment of soul purpose truth, you will allow others to be exactly who they need to be. So take inventory. When we are feeling unhappy about the current conditions in our lives, it's time to restore energetic balance by taking inventory. What are you doing in your life now that brings you meaningful connection, fulfillment, and feelings of joy in the moment? If we look to others to give us permission or rely on relationships or external events in order to experience love and happiness, this sets us up to fail. When we focus only on external and to make us happy, this is based on temporary conditions. Thus, we are distracting ourselves from hearing the real messages that come from inside our hearts. Create priorities. Once we have taken inventory and listened to our heart for more clarity on what generates meaningful connections and increased loving feelings, we will want to apply a newfound awareness to co-create a healthier lifestyle and more balanced relationships. If we are too serious and in work mode too much of the time without playfulness and humor, this also generates imbalances which shut down our heart. We must reevaluate our commitments in life to reduce stress and seek to remove any areas where obligations or negative interactions are no longer supporting, a more natural flow of our life. When we are in energetic balance with ourselves, we are in balance with our spiritual self, our heart, and we cease to have great personal turmoil or suffering. This is the path to becoming increasingly healthful and peaceful. May we share a prayer together for all our human hearts to be healed and find inner peace. Beloved inner creator source, Christ self, God self, guardian team and family, we would like to hold unconditional love, compassion, empathy and true caring for all of our humanity and life on this planet, for all that we are enduring in these times. May the creator sources, God source's divine plan return to this earth and support all of our brothers and sisters to heal and open our hearts and truly experience the perfect love and peace that is the God source. So please take what is useful to your spiritual growth and discard all the rest. Thank you for your courage and bravery to be a truth seeker. And remember, I am God and I am sovereign and I am free. So until next day in the luminosity of your avatar, Christos Sophia heart path, please be kind to yourself and each other. God, sovereign, free, with a loving heart, Lisa Renee. And that is on the energetic synthesis.com website. And I'm very much aligned to that work. That line of work, Lisa gets all her information from the Syrian Council. And the Syrian Council, a lot of us on Earth have, there's a lot of genetic stock of Syrians. A lot of us have an affiliation or a connection to Egypt. And so I'm going to get into the sacred space of the heart. This is another perspective which kind of ties in to what I've been talking about today and just it breaks down the mechanics of it a little bit more. And this is from Living in the Heart, Drunvalo Melchizedek. It's one of my favorite books. So the sacred space of the heart, sometimes referred to as the sacred chamber of the heart, is a timeless dimension of consciousness where all things are possible here and now. Throughout the world's ancient writings and oral traditions are references to a secret or special place within the heart. The short verse from the Chandogya Upanishad at the beginning of this book is one example. Another is the book associated with the Torah, called The Secret Chamber of the Heart. And perhaps science is now beginning to cautiously approach this very understanding. One research group, the Institute of Heart Math in Boulder Creek, California, which is connected to the Stanford University, has found some very interesting new data. Greg Braden talks a lot about the Institute of Heart Math, and his work is absolutely fantastic, especially if you really need some help with forgiveness. His 7 mirrors, the 7 mirrors of the Essenes. Oh my God, that's amazing. Amazing information. The information may be helpful to some of you trying to understand the heart. It's not an easy undertaking, but when the mind cooperates, the heart responds. There has always been this paradox, but when a baby is conceived, a human heart begins to beat more than before the brain is formed. This has led doctors to wonder where the intelligence to begin and regulate the heartbeat is coming from. To the surprise of the medical world, scientists at HeartMath have discovered that the heart has its own brain. Yes, a real brain with actual brain cells. It is very small and has only about 40,000 cells, but it is a brain and obviously all that the heart needs. This was an enormous discovery and leads authentically to those who for centuries have spoken of or written about the intelligence of the heart. The scientists at HeartMath have made perhaps even greater discovery about the heart. They have proven that the human heart generates the largest and most powerful energy grid of any organ in the body, including the brain within the skull. I think it's about 50 feet all around us, actually. They found that this electromagnetic field is about 8 to 10 feet in diameter. Okay, there you go. With the axis centered at the heart. Its shape resembles the donut form of a torus, which is often considered the most unique and primal shape in the universe. Those who have studied both volumes of The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, and I totally recommend those books, Volume 1 and Volume 2, they really do break down the Platonic solids. He breaks down sacred geometry and the nature of reality. He talks about dimensions, how it correlates to keyboards on the piano, and so much more. I mean, it's one of the most incredible pieces of information from those 2 books that I've ever come across. And so, okay, Flower of the Life will find something very familiar about the heart's toroidal field. In Metatron's cube, you can find the 5 Platonic solids within one another, and each one has a smaller replica of the original form contained within it, just like a hologram. A cube within a cube, an octagon within an octagon, and so forth. Here, emerging from the secret space of the heart, secret space. There you go. As above, so below, as within, as without. You know, NASA being exploring the inner secret space. So here, emerging from the secret space of the heart, is an electromagnetic toroidal field with a smaller toroidal field inside, and both are centered on the same axis, just like the 5 Platonic solids in Metatron's cube. So I have found 2 important aspects to the toroidal field. First, it can be used as a doorway to find and enter the sacred chamber of the heart. Instructions on how to enter the sacred place using this vortex can be found later in this book. The second aspect has to do with the inner torus, the smaller one. This is not the place to explain how important this inner field is, but I will turn to it when we talk about it, about creating from the heart. The sacred space of the heart is created in a fashion similar to the torus within the torus. So there is a sacred space itself. But you will see within this sacred space is another, a very small but very special space that is different and has unique applications. Heart surgeons have learned another piece of information that could be related, but I'm not sure of the significance. They have found that there is a tiny place in the heart that must never be touched for any reason, or that person will die immediately, for no chance of reviving him or her. Whenever it is about this place, it is certainly, and whatever is about this place, it's certainly important to life. So I'm convinced that the toroidal electromagnetic field passes exactly through and is generated from the sacred space of the heart. But I'm not still clear about that, and the brain of the heart, and the place that cannot be touched if you die. If you understand or discover a relationship, please let me know. Studying and teaching living of the heart since 1999, I have been studying and giving workshops on living in the heart. At the time of writing, I have explored this experience with about 4,000 people. I've learned so much and continue to learn. I sure feel that there are other parts to this book in the future, but for now, beginning to understand that the images themselves that are generated by the heart. And so the following is some of what I've learned, but first I would like to make a disclaimer. What I know about this point I've learned from direct experience and from the experience of some of my students, and sometimes we don't understand what is going on for longer periods of time. But what I'm about to say is I believe to be true at the time, and might change my mindset about some of this information. You must follow your own heart and be true to yourself. If something in this book doesn't work for you, you just disregard it. I am certain that there is a way for you to find your sacred space of the heart. So in the first 2 years of living in the heart workshop, I found I could reach only about half of the participants. Half of the people in the group completely got it, whereas the point of the workshop went completely over the head of the other half. I finally began to mention before each workshop that this might happen, and about half the people experience the sacred space of the heart, and that others would be changed by the experience, whereas others would just go away not having experienced anything at all. So why is that so, I asked myself. I've spent many hours contemplating this question based on the responses of hundreds of people who could not find the sacred space. It appears now that a major part of the reason lies in our emotional bodies. Those who have experienced emotional trauma at some time in their lives feel the pain again when they enter the sacred space of the heart and want to leave immediately. This means that it might be necessary for you to clear emotional debris through therapy before you begin. Those who find a way to release their negative emotional energy, no matter how they do it, are able to enter the heart with little or no discomfort. Once in the heart, even if only for 15 minutes, everything has initially stopped for them from entering the heart, appears to dissolve, and they have no problem returning to this space. Another problem I have encountered are the different ways people see. Some see by using their inner facility of sight in the form of visions and dreams. Others use sound and hearing to perceive the inner worlds. And still others use senses such as smell, taste, and bodily sensations to see with. As a result, expectations as to how this experience is supposed to happen will sometimes get in the way. A short story will make this clear, and I hope I get to finish this before the last 4 minutes of the show tonight. At the end of a recent workshop, a couple went home with one of them having entered the sacred space of the heart, and the other one felt like he had failed, even though I prepare people for this possibility. You can still feel discouraged when it's happening to you. So the husband, who felt that he had not had the experience, said to his wife, "I feel bad that nothing happened when I went into this meditation. I didn't see a thing. I have to admit that the CD Drumvala was playing where the dolphins and whales was incredible, but the music was so good I could almost feel the water on my body." Astonished, his wife told him that I had not played the CD. In fact, there had been no music at all. He could hardly believe her when he asked another person who had been at the workshop as well, who confirmed that there had been no music playing, no dolphin, no whale signs coming from the CD. This man was a musician, and this was his way of seeing. He had expected that he would see in a vision, but instead he saw with his ears. We are now discovering that people who thought they had not had an experience actually did have one, but because it didn't correspond with their expectations, they discounted the entire experience of having been in the heart space. Now, isn't that amazing, guys? It's amazing. It's all relative, like Einstein said. It's how you perceive things, your point of perception. So the vibration of the heart, the easy way back. One of the first things I noticed when I entered my sacred space of the heart was the vibration that seemed to be coming up from everywhere. this vibration obviously was not the heartbeat itself, since the sound was continuous. It sounded like the sound of Om, yet something a bit different. So both times I found myself in the king's chamber in the great period of Egypt. I know Chris Gio will resonate with this. I experienced a vibration and it seemed to be everywhere within the pyramid, even in the very stones I touched. I have talked with many other people who have become experienced in this vibration there, and I believe there is almost exactly the vibration. It's the vibration of the heart. So when you enter the sacred space of the heart, one of the first things I would like you to do once you hear the vibration is to actually begin duplicating the inner sound with your physical voice. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as close as you can. You know, this links the inner world of the heart with the outer world of the mind. My wife has studied the ancient teachings on the way of the heart from Israel, from Madame Colette of Jerusalem, which say this is always perhaps important. And I agree, after having witnessed so many people entering this space. What it does is ground the experience of the internal humming of the heart into the physical world, which then also presents another reason for doing this. It means a means of return. Once you have experienced the sacred space of the heart and wish to return, you can simply tune into that heart vibration by humming the sound, and of course moving out of the head into the heart. The vibration leads you directly to the sacred space of the heart, and the return gets easier and easier. Eventually, this change from the mind to the heart can be accomplished in about 2 or 3 seconds. My personal experience of the sacred space of the heart, I don't know if we're going to get through all of this, guys. I've got a minute to go until we finish. I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I've actually got some great news coming on. I've got Eve Lorgan coming on. Thank you, James Bartme, for getting in contact with Eve Lorgan. Really appreciate that, sweetie. Forever grateful of that. She's been very hard to get a hold of. Her information is absolutely mind-blowing. If you've ever experienced an alien love bite, if you've ever felt that you're going through some heartbreak, when you feel another presence there hopping on or piggybacking on your consciousness, they're usually the greys. And they are there to manipulate your whole love life. And she's written a book on this called Alien Love Bite and The Dark Side of Cupid. And so I'm going to have Eve on. I don't know when yet. We're going to tie up some time soon. So look out for that, guys. That's going to be an amazing show with Evie Lorgan. I just want to thank everyone for coming here tonight, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.